Oh,
I said, yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I said, we've been asking for months and he still hasn't shared it with us.
Listen. Oh, come on, baby. Be nice. This is meetings. Okay. Got it. All right. I think it's working now. Cool. Yeah. So we'll start with that. Maybe that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just, do you know how? So and you kind of know the basics of sauerkraut. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a feel on what you can do. So you have your normal cabbage, right?
Yeah.
So the big thing is when you add your salt, the reason mine is better now is because once I took that class, I'll try to find the link of it. It's like I think her name was Meredith, and it's called at fermentation school, right? And
Okay.
so when I took it, one of the things is you were adding salt just to have like a light, so you mix it really good. So I use like sea salt or Himalayan salt, like those kind of things.
Yeah. Did she say anything about using like the canning salt that you would use for
It's
like,
good. I like it. She likes the other types.
okay.
There's different ones that are pretty good. I can't. There's a white one that she really, really likes, and that's the one I use now. Because of the other minerals involved, right?
Yeah.
So it's just that much better for you. But you get to a point where you're actually eating. So you chop it all up, right? Sauerkraut, and then you throw the salt in, but then
Yeah.
you mix it good, and then see if you just get a faint salt taste to it. And so once you get this faint salt taste, then you're ready to go. You leave it sit for a while, right? I've had good luck with like maybe a day of sitting it there with a blanket over it and letting
Yeah.
it kind of just do its juices, right? And so then a lot of times I won't add for that one recipe I was talking about. I
Yeah.
just add a good amount of dill, just natural plant dill. Like go get as natural as you can get, and then a few lemons, right? So then
Oh,
you get the lemons and you just do the juice that way. I think I did like 3 or 4.
okay.
Mine in the when you do it out of we'll have to do it on here, but you get one of those mason jars. It's like what, a quarter,
Yeah.
make a pretty good sized mason jar. And one cabbage can pretty much get you like a month's worth of kraut that way, like, and then
Yeah.
you use those different kinds of lids you can get on. We'll definitely do one because maybe that's our next nutrition one,
Yeah.
after this one, because it would be super fun to like put that together for people because
Well,
it's so
yeah, I
good.
feel
It's
like
worth it.
sauerkraut, you don't want to guess. You know what I mean? On like the
Yeah,
amount of dill or lemons or whatever you put in there, like you want
right.
a good amount.
What happens with dill and lemon, you could overdo both of those and you'd be fine. You would actually, the taste of it and those kind of things you could overdo, and you're going to get this dilly lemony situation
Yeah.
more than the kraut, because a lot of people don't love the kraut piece,
Hmm.
as we go. So yeah, we'll go over that. I'll probably put it in our what I'll do is our Substack thing that we do.
Yeah.
I'll put that in there and a couple other ones, and I'll put her little courses, because
That
it'd
would
be
be
worth
good.
just doing a night where I get into one of her courses and we watch it or something. If there's not too many people on, we might not
That'd be good.
Facebook Live that one, but she probably wouldn't like that.
No, probably not.
Um, but yeah, dear Lord, it was totally worth it. And the different relishes, the different things she was making that are all
Yeah.
fermented, and now you have your probiotics for the day, just a little bit like your side dish. So that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So very cool. Okay, so let's start tonight on chiropractic. And this is kind of interesting because it doesn't sound like something, when I put it on here, I was like, okay, people are going to think, well, why are we talking about chiropractic? Most of the people that are ever going to watch this probably have experienced chiropractic. Well, one of the things that people don't understand that I love to get across is chiropractic isn't for necessarily aches or pains. It's really, really good at that. But the overall philosophy of chiropractic never was intended for that. It absolutely wasn't. And so what happened to us is over time, when you balance your body, a lot of those pains go away, right? So tonight we're going to talk about a really good. So I'll show you the book. This guy was one of my favorite people. So this guy, well, let's see if I do this right. Okay, his name is Dr. Virgil Strang, and he was one of my professors at school. He was the president of the college at the same time he was like teaching us. But one of the things that this book was the whole class was on this book, right? And so it's like near and dear to my heart because he hit this subject that makes it explains chiropractic at such a good level that it's hard to miss it. So what I mean by that is like the word homeostasis. A lot of people don't know what that is, and that's what we're going to go over tonight. And hopefully you get a good idea, like, what does it mean to get regular chiropractic care? Why would I push that? Right. So, and we're going to talk about it kind of like what they call, some people call it maintenance care. Some people call it those different things. And you guys get to see my nerd world a little bit twice tonight because another lady, my neurophysiology scientist in New Zealand, her name's Dr. Heidi Havoc, who is a chiropractor now. She's like my Taylor Swift to my daughter, right?
Yeah.
That she is that for us in chiropractic, some of us nerds, that she has been doing the research that backs up everything I'm going to say tonight. So I can't wait to show you that. So I'll start the PowerPoint now and we'll go from there. Amy, you got anything before we start? You good?
No.
Okay. No. Sweet. Oh, wait, hang on. I should probably screen share first. All right. Then I'll get to from the beginning. There we go. So again, every night we're going to go over that. Nature needs no help, just no interference. And that is our new mantra, our way of being with our 1%. When we look at it, the body that way, we can do that. We can change our body 1%. Jess, because you're on, I want to make sure I hear your 2 weeks of 1% improvement, because I have a lady named Teresa in my office. I think she fell off the wagon after week 1, but because she tried to do 7% a day. I told her that's not how it goes. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So 1%. Okay. So what we're going to talk about tonight? Why regular chiropractic care? Why is it relevant to your life? Other than, aches and pains, and that being your source of becoming less pain, having less pain. How does the concept of homeostasis play into being subluxation free? And we'll talk about even what a subluxation is. What are some of the things that we could remove to help reduce that interference? Okay. That picture, I love that thing. I found that, I was like, oh yeah, we're going to do
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So why regular chiropractic care? So chiropractic, its role in everyday life starts with, it's a law of biology. Homeostasis is actually a law. We're going to go through that law. Homeostasis is defined in the Dorland's Medical Dictionary as a tendency to stability in the normal body, internal environment of the organism. It is achieved by a system of control mechanisms activated by negative feedback. It continues with the the definition continues with a good example, basically, of the immunological definition. It uses the normal state of an adult animal in which it produces antibodies or develops a cell-mediated immunity to foreign antigens, but not its own antigen. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Gray's Anatomy says such a preservation of internal consistency or homeostasis despite term fluctuations in the surroundings. It is a feature of the operation of all the principal organ systems. For example, the regulation of blood pressure. And there's a few other ones we won't go into tonight because I want to don't keep you here all night. But osmolarity, electrolytes, hydrogen ion concentrations, glucose or sugar levels, all those different things. And then we're going to talk about that. So I know that was a lot. Okay, so let's walk through homeostasis. So one of my favorite thinking points is when I always thought about homeostasis, I thought of plucking a rubber band. Okay, so me and Amy have a rubber band in between us. Something happens. There is a reactionary force that plucks this rubber band, and you watch this wave go back and forth until that kind of energy dissipates, or it goes up, it goes down. There's a negative and a positive, until it balances out and is not moving anymore. A lot of times in homeostasis, that is perfect life function. Almost every organ in our body and every internal system that we can go as complicated as you want, have something happen, reads whatever happened, that reading sends it to the place that you're going to have a reaction. Okay, so homeostasis in a kid way. Kid draws on the wall, right? The receptors of the mother say, oh my God, you just drew it. That's a permanent marker. So the receptors tell the sensor, and at that moment, the response is to go over, grab the marker out of the kid's hand, or have a few words or loud voices, right? So some of these, as we go with homeostasis, will make a lot of sense. And so as we go, you're going to see the need for these different kind of stimuli as we go, okay? And hopefully this will make sense. So we have this. All right, this is the easiest one out there. When you're hot, the stimulus of your body is telling you, okay, I need to do something because it's 90 degrees out here, and if I don't reduce my core temperature, I'm gonna have issues. So what does it do? The body is told to the brain, all right, I'm going to create my sweat glands to produce sweat. Why? To cool the body as they go, right? Now, literally, we don't understand this enough in our world now that we actually stop the sweating system from actually being just as simple as this system. We actually stop it from happening. There's like a lot of things out there. Like think about the deodorants that are anti-sweat, basically, right? Because we're so worried about that. However, that mechanism's in play for that very specific reason. And so that would be what you'd call homeostasis. Your body wants to stay at a normal temperature. It's going to fluctuate up and down, but it needs those responses to be able to do that. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because soon, according to the way we as a society go, we're going to have a shivering medicine at some point. We haven't come up with it yet, but if I came up with it, it'd be $1 billion industry. But
Yeah.
the same idea is you go over and you're cold and you shiver. Why do you shiver? Your brain gets a receptors. It's saying, hey, I'm cold. I send it to the skeletal muscle of my body. It sends a effect down your nervous system to those muscles to create shivering, right? You don't shiver on your own. You don't ask your body to shiver, right? You don't ask your body to either sweat either, right? So those are things that are happening with your nervous system involved, right? And so that's where homeostasis, and you can go into almost, it is every biological system. You can have a little tiny feedback loop just like this in every single one. A few more complex or fancier words, but every single one can be broken down to this system. Okay, So this is why I want you to, I hope I got there before I do this, but this is Dr. Heidi Havoc. She makes these really cool videos. So I'm going to kind of let it play. See how you guys like it. She loves, this is not a copyright thing because she like wants us to get it out loud and proud to everybody. So I'm going to play it and then see if you guys have questions after this one, especially you, Amy, if I'm missing anything.
Okay.
And a little plug.
People go to see a chiropractor for many different reasons. Some go because they want help with back pain, or neck pain, or headaches. Some go because they want to perform better on sporting fields or athletic tracks. Some want to sleep better, or be better able to deal with stress. But you might be surprised to know that almost 50% of chiropractic patients go to see their chiropractor because they simply want to maintain their health and well-being. This is what chiropractors call maintenance care. The idea with maintenance care is that regular adjustments will help maintain your spine and nervous system function at its optimal level and help you to be your best and to prevent new episodes of pain developing. So what does the research tell us about maintenance care? Well, it tells us that maintenance care makes perfect sense if you want to function at your best. We know that if your brain doesn't send appropriate protective messages to your core trunk muscles, you will have a higher risk of developing low back injuries. This makes sense because a lack of core stability means you're basically creating a mini whiplash injury to your spine each time you move around or lift your arm and leg. So if you end up in pain after bending over to tie your shoelaces, your pain hasn't really just come out of the blue. It's usually been developing for some time without you knowing about it. It's often the 1,000th straw that breaks the camel's back. All of life's stressors can build up and impact the way your brain communicates with your trunk muscles. And then all that is needed is one last minor thing to go wrong and you end up with pain or other symptoms. The goal of maintenance care is to help take the straws off the camel's back before they cause symptoms or have a big impact on your life. A study published by researchers from Sweden in 2018 showed the benefits of maintenance care in a group of people who suffered from low back pain. In this study, the researchers followed 328 patients with low back pain who went to 40 different Swedish chiropractic clinics. If the patients responded well when they were first adjusted, they joined the study and either received chiropractic maintenance care over the next year or symptom-guided care. The maintenance care patients were seen every 1 to 3 months, with the intention being that they were checked before substantial pain reoccurred. Patients in the control group, they were told to call in if the pain reoccurred. They were then adjusted until they got better and then were told to call again if the pain reoccurred. What the researchers were most interested in was the number of total days of bothersome back pain suffered by each group throughout the 1-year trial period. What they found was that the maintenance care group experienced 13 fewer days of pain over the course of the study on average, compared to the symptom-guided group. The amazing thing from this study was that the maintenance care group needed less than 2 extra visits to their chiropractor over the course of the year to have 13 fewer days of pain. This suggests that the patients who have had low back pain, who respond well to chiropractic care, should see their chiropractor regularly, irrespective of whether their symptoms have returned or not. This study did have some limitations, of course, just like all studies do. One limitation was that the chiropractors were told not to schedule their maintenance care patients more frequently than once a month. So some patients in this group may have benefited even more if the chiropractors had been able to schedule their visits more frequently if they thought that was a good idea. This study shows that it's really important to keep your spine working well, even if you don't have pain or symptoms. If you want to function at your optimal potential, consider chiropractic maintenance care, because the research suggests Your spine will love you for it.
Cool. Oh, shoot. Okay, sorry. Okay. So let's talk about that. So one of the things that I love about, did that come through okay, Amy?
Yep.
Is it pretty good? Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason I bring that video in particular wasn't because of, the research study that was there. It was more about, if we go back to the homeostasis concept, where you have stimulus, receptor, right? Response, or sensor, and then response, right? So what basically we found over a long period of time is, you want really good sensors. You want neurology that is improving as you improve. Okay, a good example of this: if I had a car that had or let's use a sensor like that. We'll use a solar panel. One of the interesting things about solar panels, they have, sorry about that, somebody's there. So solar panels, one of the things that's interesting is, as they get dirty, they are receiving the sun that comes through, right? And so as that sun comes through, the dirtier they get, the less reception they get in there. So they get down to like 30 or 40%, effectiveness with just having a very dirty panel. So it's constantly about, cleaning and, doing those things. Sensors in your car, the little sensors on your phone, a lot of those different sensors need really good clarity. One of the things that you can do for your own self is taking care of your nervous system on a regular basis. Every time you get adjusted, there's an increase in energetic flow to recalibration of the entire electrical or your nervous system that you go through. So when you do it, regardless of pain being there, you're increasing the function and making sure that your receptors are good, because you want that, right? So let's say I have no receptors. My heat receptors are gone in my fingers. Okay. So there's some kind of spinal nerve problem in my neck, and I don't get a lot of feeling to my fingers. Okay. So then I go to pick up a hot plate or a hot bowl or something, and it's super hot where it can burn you. Wouldn't you want your reaction time, because your body will tell then your brain to react and pull away? Wouldn't you want your reaction time to be faster, right? So as you notice, and some of us probably do notice that, when you go to grab something, you're a little slower to the reaction, or a ball comes at your head, right? And you're slower in reaction. We always kind of leave that to, oh, okay, we're getting old and our nervous system is getting old with us. That's not necessarily true. And when you have good functioning spinal care, you can get a lot more bang for your buck. We've seen it in the office before, when people commit to that, that idea of the regular type things, the amount of physical activity that person's able to do versus maybe somebody of their same age is mind-boggling. And most of the time it's just watching. The research shows it, with the ability of all these spinal joints to work perfect, you don't get interferences in the nervous system. And if you remember back to our homeostasis slide, it took nerves to have any kind of response or reaction, right? So you have nerves that take in the information. Like, I'll give you an example. If you're watching TV, your optic nerve is taking that information in, right? And to get a response out, it's a lot of times, or it is coming out of the nervous system the rest of the way. Sometimes we don't want it to be this simple. We want other things. We want chemicals. We want a lot of these different things, hormones being the problem, all those. But what if you took care of that one piece? What if you took care of that nervous system and saw where it went to, right? And that's where what I loved about the study, though, is it's kind of in that 1%. Of course, I'm going to recommend once every 2 weeks, right? That's the best I could, I'd love for everyone to do that. Is it possible? Maybe. Once every 3 months could be very good, though, right? It doesn't have to be what, like exactly that, but a regular quarterly visit wouldn't be a bad idea either. Each one of those builds on itself, right? And so you can do it. You see it all the time when people have braces on teeth. You actually see bones changing, their positioning. You can have joints work better. You're not stuck with this spine that's never going to work right. I've seen it. I've worked on them all the time. I wish there was data like, if we didn't do this, you would look like this kind of deal. Be like, man, like a future thing. If you said, all right, Amy, because you didn't get adjusted, here's what your future looks. This is what your spine looks like now, right? But you're building on it each time. So I think that is the coolest thing. Here's one last. This one's a little shorter video. I really thought people should hear this one. And I apologize for my dryer going off. So my child. We try to have the laundry done by the end of the day. I get it all put away too. It's pretty impressive. But tonight was not that. All right, here we go.
Did you know that many research studies have shown that chiropractic care can change brain function? Let's look at one of these studies. This one explored the brain's ability to sense the position of the elbow when the arm is moved. The study involved 25 people with a low level of neck pain and 18 healthy people with no pain at all. The healthy group was the control group. All of the participants were tested for their brain's ability to determine the exact position of their elbow joint. They were shown how to position their arm while lying down and then were asked to reproduce this angle with their eyes closed. A fancy tool called an electrogoniometer was used to ensure that the findings were very accurate. The healthy control group was very good at knowing exactly where their elbow was positioned and could consistently reproduce the elbow position. But the group that suffered with low-level neck pain were not so good at knowing where their arms were. The group with low-level neck pain was then given chiropractic adjustments. After this, they were better at repositioning their arm. The brains were better able to see where their arm was after they were adjusted by the chiropractor. This study was really cool because it shows that improving the function of your spine can not only help your brain see what's going on in your spine, but it can also help improve the way your brain sees what's going on in your arms. There are many, many more research studies like this that demonstrate all sorts of benefits from receiving chiropractic care, such as improved visual acuity and visual field size, reaction times, brain processing times, joint position sense in your ankle, spinal function, muscle strength in your legs, and prevention of muscle fatigue. We'll explore more of this research in future videos. In the meantime, make sure you get yourself checked by your chiropractor.
All right. Okay, so now that we've seen those, it's one of those things where homeostasis is a big part. That showed you a lot, and that's one that no one really thinks about. Like I always say clumsiness, but those are what we talked about, that in those senses that come in, those receptors of your nervous system have to work as good as the receptors going out. And so the better we do at these kind of things, the better we, keep our chiropractic stuff, or, your spine where it needs to be, the chiropractic adjustment. We like to call them, and if you remember that word way in the beginning, it's called subluxation. Subluxation is where there's the motion in the spine isn't working properly. And because of that, there are a lot of different physiological interferences. And so those interferences, as we go, can be corrected over time, and it's one of those where if you have a great functioning joint, well, life will be pretty good for you. I always say, like, the ones that we see quite a bit are exactly like the first video, where our body's reactions, our nervous system reflexes, when we go to pick up an 80-pound bag, right, aren't there, right? So we haven't, you lost them over time, or you just become desensitized, right? So you get this desensitization that happens where your reflexes aren't as great. And so when you go to pick up that 80-pound bag or box or whatever, you get that situation where you could hurt yourself, right? And so that's one of the biggest takeaways of all of this is if we improve that nervous system function, we ultimately do all of those feedback loops in the homeostasis, right? So that homeostasis, with all that, you improve each piece of that so that you gives you the best chance. So that's what I really like, because it's not just about pain. It never has been, right? And that's what is so neat, because most people come in, once they get a chiropractic adjustment, they're kind of shocked at how they feel. Not just in the pain aspect, but what else they notice something changed, right? And that's the physiological effects. This goes down to every little cell of your body. Even within the cells of your body have this process. So if we can get that nervous system working in that way, where that feedback loop is working perfectly, we can do a lot of things. So let's see what this slide says. Yeah, so it's basically what I'm saying. Yeah, let's fix the system, right? Think in terms of it as a system. Okay, so, and we'll talk about how to do this. Okay, my foot hurts, right? Why does your foot hurt? What system is broken that is not allowing that feedback loop or the reaction to occur, right? And that's where, the chiropractic, what we call the deductive logic, is it starts to get ingrained in your head, and you just think that way, and most that'll be on this probably think that way a lot more. The difference in the medical system is we just never look at the system, we just look at the response. Does that make sense? So we look at what are we going to do about the response of whatever's happening? We really want to look at the system. What is the feedback loop as it goes? All right. Okay, so we're at the cool part. So, of course, our action items this week: start thinking of regular chiropractic care as part of your self-care organizational thinking. You don't have to do it tomorrow, but if we could get on that bandwagon, it's totally worth it. Once we do that, I don't want you to do it just because I'm saying so. I want you to have actual markers that you can go by. Don't even tell your doctor about it. Like, whatever your chiropractor, what are you going to rely on? What are you going to check to see if you're getting what you want to, right? A good example is, if I was going, I say, all right, I'm going to start doing this chiropractic thing all the time. All right, I'm going to balance on one foot and see how long I last, and see, all right, I'm going to balance on one foot, see how many seconds I can do it, right? So let's say you can do it for 30 seconds. I'm going to do the other foot, 30 seconds, right? And all right, so I go and get adjusted. We keep doing that. Well, okay, after a few months of this, can you balance better? Do you feel stronger? Do you feel your own body? We call it self-awareness. We see it a lot when people start getting adjusted. They understand their body positioning a lot better, because when it's not there, they can feel those things. Most of the people, I'll put Amy on the spot, but most people don't wait until there's necessarily neck pain. Most of the time, they just know. that their neck needs it in that sense, right? Because there's some kind of body positioning that's not sitting right. And they know by getting either neurology or getting adjusted will help that a lot. So that is a thing that happens every day once people start getting into that flow. But a lot of people come in a weird sporadic way, because I've always loved that, because you learn over that time. A lot of people come in for pain, see me the amount of times it takes, they get out of that pain, they forget about it, right? 6 months goes by, they come back in for the same pain. The beauty of that regular chiropractic care, whatever that looks like for you, is that you're constantly ahead, and we're fixing that neurology prior to those pain nerves firing off. So hopefully that will help. Sweet. I didn't talk too much. I knew this one was going to be rough, because I was like, I really like that one.
A lot of technical lingo in there, I think.
Yeah. I mean, so what did you think about the homeostasis piece?
I think that it's pretty cool. And I think that, like you said, when people start to get adjusted, whether they're coming in for symptom guided care or maintenance or whatever, like, you start to realize, we hear that all the time on chiropractic side and the massage side too. Like, I've had a couple instances where I've said to Dr. Matt, I don't know if we're ever going to get this person better. He goes, no, he said, they're getting better. They just told me in the room that they're 75% better since they started seeing us on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So sometimes I think, like you said, people don't realize it until they're on kind of a regular schedule. And then they know when things are off, when they feel like, oh, maybe if I get adjusted. I feel like that happens all the time. So like you said, they're taking better care of their nervous system, and they maybe don't realize that, they just feel something's off, or my neck is off, or, well, I'm just going to go get adjusted.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
That is the biggest part is, like, as the person comes in, we're never going to be like, oh, we just fixed your homeostasis of your nervous system, right? They're
right.
looking for that actual feel of what's happening.
Yeah.
Biggest thing is we see it all the time over the 22 years I've been doing it. The interesting part is how almost automatic you can tell when somebody's got their homeostasis, those feedback loops are really, really off, versus somebody that is just kinda, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Like, that is a big, big deal to, have the constantly ignored feedback loop. I'll give you an example. So, like, let's say I work at a job that is super physical all the time. So I have the same reflex movement. I do the same constant motion, but I don't go see anybody. I don't do any of those things. When I hurt, I take a pill or whatever, right? So I do that for like 10 years, right? So you got those reflex loops of their reaction is, here's the box, I have to move it from here to there. That is a 10-year feedback loop that you have to break, because if you're going one side of your body to the other, that's a big deal. And it's one of those that is really hard to get somebody to commit to, in that sense, because it's
uncomfortable.
Yeah. So one of my favorites is, I just read another book. If you guys ever, it's pretty complex, so I shouldn't bring it up. But actually, Dr. High, did you like those videos? She sounds just like that in real life anyway. It's hilarious, especially when there's a guy, old man, chasing her down the thing. Hey, will you sign my book? Will you sign it? It was like so funny. But anyway, so she's awesome in real life as well. But one of the books that she got me onto, it's called The Brain That Changes Itself. And what it was I don't know, he might be still around. There's a neurologist that thought outside the box in taking care of Parkinson's, stroke type situations with those. To this day, it's sort of, he's been doing it for forever, and it's not taken hold because of what I'm about to say. So the reason it hasn't taken hold, he would make a person, let's say you have that Parkinson's tremor, right? And they can't read or write really well because of that tremor gets them. Typically it's in the right hand, those kind of things. So what he would do is you would have 6 hours of training every day for 4 months straight. Every day, like no questions asked with the therapist. We're working hard for 6 hours of training. His results were ridiculously phenomenal. He was getting people better that no one even thought in their right mind they would do. Right now, part of his, he believes, and I believe it too, is he was training other portions of their brain to take on those roles, because that is part of the research that they've done. Maybe there's damage to that one side part of the brain, but now because we only use like 10%, why not take on these other portions? So that was phenomenal to see that. But then you could see, okay, what does 10 years of monthly chiropractic care do for you? And that's where it'll always be a hard research to do because of that. But whatever, every 2 weeks, right? Chiropractors seem to do very well through, like doing it a long time. I've been doing it 20 years. I feel like I can do it another, and, there's sometimes you don't do it, or sometimes I don't follow my own protocol. But after actually researching it today, I'm going to do it better for myself personally,
That's why I was going to ask you how often you get adjusted. Is it just when you injure yourself? Or
most of the time it's because I always don't think of it, and because I'm like not scheduled correctly, or typically I'm a 2-week guy, or hey, I need to, I want to stay away from, my biggest thing is stay away from the, hey, could you do it? Because I just want to go, okay, it's time, let's check it. I feel fantastic. Why would you not do it at that time, right?
Yeah.
And all of us at the office are guilty of that as well. So that is the, yeah. Who am I talking to on here? Type in. I just saw your question. Oh, I know. Type answer. It's not your fault. I think I know who it is. The ID doesn't come up, so that's the only bad thing. I think I know.
I can't see any of it.
Yeah, they came in on the Zoom, which is so cool.
Oh,
so they said we come in every 2 weeks. So
that's awesome.
But I think I know who this is. I think it rhymes with Arsha.
We love them.
They
come in and fix stuff for us.
Yeah. I think that is right. So I'm so excited. The biggest thing for me is, like, as we go, I know homeostasis is a lot, like to kind of bring up. However, we're going to keep going at it, and we're going to learn. Those feedback loops are so important. Like, where else in your life will they be?
I was going to say, if you give more examples of what that looks like for people, or people could even start, like, I Googled it or looked it up on Pinterest, and it had several different types of, like, images, like the one that you had, but just different.
Yep. Here's a good example of one that is it's totally different on either side. A fever of a child. Okay. So a holistic person is going to look at that fever a whole different ballgame than most people out there. That fever is a reaction, right? I might have to, we'll have to see what happens. I have the smallest, loudest dog in the history of the planet. So as a fever comes in, we have this reaction. We have a bug or something comes in and starts this immune system reaction. That immune system, that reaction coming up is exactly what we want. That fever that drives up, it stresses us out because the kid's miserable. They feel miserable. Everything about it is miserable. But to negate that process negates their immune system response. Okay. So it's not just you're dropping their fever down, you're literally stopping their immune system from working. And that is a hard lesson. And yes, you're going to monitor as it gets up there, right? Everybody's like, well, what if it's super rare that it gets up to 108 and like does that, right? But most of the time you can monitor that and do things to let it drive back down. Why? Because the body wants to get rid of that. It wants to get back to its normal set point, just like a wave, right? Get that temperature up there. Let's get these crazy bugs out of that system. Let's work hard dumping it. And then we allow that to kind of space through. So that is such a homeostasis move. And when parents are successful with it, because it happens tons of times, right? So it's not like you get one shot at this and then you're either pass or fail. A lot of times you'll see them, the times you don't interact, the times you don't give anti-fever, any of those things, that day, they'll be better in an hour. They'll be better in the next day, right? It's like almost instant. When you have to react, when you have to do an anti-fever because you got there, that'll be 3 weeks. It makes a big difference in how that kid, will the kid get to homeostasis? Absolutely. That's the beauty of your human body. Whether we interfere with it or not, it's going to get there no matter what. Like, I don't care, how much you want to fight it, it will happen. Will it be delayed? Will it be their best reaction? It's kind of like that reactionary time is what I love saying. Like, as how fast are your reactions? Like that ball's coming at your head. If your neurology of if your neck and all those things are moving in the right direction, you don't get hit in the head with the ball, right? But if it's not, you're gonna get hit. As we go, hopefully we will keep adding to those. But the homeostasis thing, the model for it, you can actually just walk through your day and see how many response reactions you get, right, in our world. So I want us to kind of look at our day. Think about this. Here's a good one. So just in curiosity, if you want to try it, it'd be interesting. But Matt and I have talked about this. Take a different way to work tomorrow. Just do it. Just turn a different direction. Watch what happens to your reflex, your sensory coming in, and the new alertness that causes you to react different. Does that make sense? It's so easy for our neurology to go exactly the same way. And then all of a sudden we change it. What happens? Alert, different, right? So that's a good way to understand what we're talking about with input, sensor, input, sense it, give me an output. That's basically what homeostasis is. So good example, eating, input, sense what I got to do, output, right? If I'm living on gluten and sugar and all that stuff, I'm going to input. I didn't take it up. My sugar is going to get ready because I'm not eating the greatest. So I have to like balance this stuff. And so I'm going to put out an output. Is it going to be normal? No, right? If it's a bad one, but if you start eating right and doing all those kind of things, you can change that. That's why you can change diabetes, right? It absolutely is doable. I've seen it. It's crazy, but it's doable. And that's why doctors give you a chance at it instead of saying, hey, you're diabetic and too bad for you, right? And at that point, but if you can change that reflex loop, you change your glucose, what happens in the insulin process out of your pancreas, right? So yeah, so that's just the easy one, but I know.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna write down some thoughts on that. Things that what would happen if I change. I'm not changing the way I go to work on a Monday morning, but maybe at lunchtime when I come back, I'll go a different way.
It's fascinating, man. I tell you what, it is fascinating. Like Matt and I talk about it. It's a good way to challenge your neurology. On our old videos, we did that one time. Change how you put your pants on, like put your other leg in, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's as simple as that. Like your brain, we get so habitualized that actually creates our senses to be, I don't know if they're not as tuned, but the kind of that's what kind of happens, right? And the chiropractic, the thing I love about it, if imagine making your set point better each time you start with that, like you're receiving better, you're doing all those things. Those aren't jokes. Those are scientific things that Heidi and their people have found. Less clumsiness, like picking up a pen, having that confidence in those. So as we go, each week we'll keep going. Hopefully this was a good one. I hope so. But we'll it's going to get some crazy out there though. We're going to go dive into some weeds that we'll just make sure we might open it, for Q&A or like question and answers if you have anybody like the next time we're out, even in the Facebook, if you want to put a question for next time as well, we'll try to answer a lot of those. We're going to get into some hard topics and they're all good. They're just, sometimes they're a little confusing. And I want to explain it the best I can, because if I can explain it, the better I explain it, the better we'll do. So yeah. You got anything else?
Nope, not right now. I got to think about this.
Yes. You guys rock. I appreciate you. I'm so pumped. Tonight, we got any questions from Marsha or Jess? Hey, we're up. We doubled. See? We doubled our attendance.
Awesome.
You guys quit doing that out there. It's going to be crazy. I'm just loving it because people are watching the replay too. And I hear about it for a lot. Which is really cool. So, and getting good questions out there too. So that's what this is for. That's why we're doing it.
For sure.
And this way we can be pretty consistent doing it. So I appreciate it. So cool. All right. Well, we'll let you guys all go.
All right. See you tomorrow.
All right. 1% improvement. Check out. Try to drive the other way. Take it easy.
Okay.
All right. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. What? Marsha has a question.
Oh.
Yes. How do I do this? Okay. Let me see. Allowed to talk. There she is. Oh, I lost her. Shoot. Allowed to talk. I pushed allowed to talk. All right. She took off before we did it. That's okay. We'll get her next time. All right. We're out.
All right. Bye.
Have a good night.
You too.